All right, let me bring in my four-wheel drive party panel tonight. It's Jessica Tarlov, Democratic strategist and senior director at Bustle.com. Camille Foster is here. He's a partner at Freethink Media. Chris Barron, also here, founder of LGBT for Trump. No Q in there. No more room. No more letters. All right.
We're all full. No room at the end.
Oh, I love your pin, though. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you. It is a night of beauty, glory, and brains. Let's talk about Donald Trump. The administration has begun to sketch out its much-heralded $1 trillion infrastructure plan. Analysts have noted that this could be a place where we see some real bipartisan support for the president. And there are not a lot of specifics yet, but we are told the plan involves favoring renovation of existing roads and highways over new construction, prioritizing projects that can quickly begin construction, and pressuring states to streamline local permitting. And according to the Wall Street Journal, the president yesterday said, quote, "We're not going to give the money to states unless they can prove that they can be ready, willing, and able to start the project." But a major roadblock and all this funding. Is the project feasible? Jessica, the president says that this has to be revenue neutral. Yeah. I think when you're talking about infrastructure spending and you've got a populist president and foaming Democrats on both sides, they don't care about revenue. They just want to spend the money.
Well, Democrats, yes, we love to spend money. Donald Trump, I think, loves to spend money, too, but he has a caucus in the House and the Senate who don't like to spend money, or at least they purport to not like to spend money.
Yes.
So I think he's going to have more trouble with his own side, and then he needs to be careful about Schumer and Pelosi playing him off his own party and trying to cause feuds in there so they can leverage and get what they want, because as you know, pointed out, we love to spend any time, and bridges to nowhere, bring it. But Donald Trump, you know, he doesn't have really, he has a lot of friends, but I don't think he has many.
Why do Democrats hate poor people, that they want to spend money that we don't have, and then you saddle them with these horrific
taxes? Actually, we're the ones who love poor people, who actually want to take care of people when they're in need.
I think you make it seem like you love poor people, but
we're just faking.
It's like taking poor people to Del Frisco's and then being like,
and it's on you.
Yeah, you go ahead and get the bill. I love those VIPs.
It was $18.
Those were great.
Yeah.
So, Camille, we're starting to see some fissures. You know, when you talk about infrastructure specifically, she pointed out, between the Freedom Caucus, which is, you know, really funded by Club for Growth and AEI and all these conservative cost cutters. What ultimately happens with infrastructure spending?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, from a political standpoint, I suck at prognostication. I actually quit doing that.
You've always loved it, and you've been very good at it.
When Donald Trump won the nomination, I gave that whole thing up. What I can tell you is gimmickry is very likely ahead when it comes to the budget here. He is unlikely to get all of the cuts he wants to get this $1 trillion number, but he's going to want to say that $1 trillion number. Shovel-ready projects is basically code for totally wasteful, massive government program.
How could it be anything but that when the government's in charge?
We saw this before with the president's stimulus plan not so long ago.
Both presidents.
The old president. And there's no reason not to expect it this time. It's funny, conservatives used to care about this sort of thing. They used to rail against it. Now when it's their guy, wasting
it's like Americans with privacy. They've given up on the idea of cutting costs. I know that you would love and admire the president, but infrastructure spending, is it really necessary to stick taxpayers with this massive bill?
Look, we're not going to stick taxpayers with this massive bill. And by the way, the left is
Mexico going to pay for it?
They are. We're going to make them pay. No, look. By the way, there's been this false dichotomy that's been set up largely by the left that said that the only way that we can pay for infrastructure is new federal dollars. There's no other way to do it. And if you're not for that, then you're for collapsing bridges. That's not true. By the way, organizations like CEI and Cato and Reason have been laying out free market ways to raise all kinds of funds to meet our infrastructure needs. Look, there's $100 billion in unmet needs just in our airports that could be met simply by getting government out of the airport business, doing something called uncapping the passenger facility charge. Like, there are free market ways to do this. Fast lanes, tolling, public-private partnerships. There are ways to do this. It doesn't have to be that we saddle the next generation with mountains of debt. But it doesn't have to be that we don't do anything, because we need to do something on infrastructure. And quite frankly, I wish Trump would have done infrastructure first.
Yeah, and you know, you're right to point out CEI and Reason, because their transportation arm at Reason Foundation, they've done phenomenal research.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
If only politicians would read that. All right, well, let's shift to that bottle blonde beauty, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, today holding an online press conference to try and explain why he's releasing the CIA's cyber spying tools Today, one U.S. lawmaker says Assange should instead be locked up. Now, yesterday, Julian began dumping thousands of files detailing how U.S. spies can crack into smartphones, computers, even televisions, and turn them into eavesdropping devices. Needless to say, a lot of people not too happy about it. This morning, Nebraska Republican Senator Ben Sasse said, quote, Assange should spend the rest of his life wearing an orange jumpsuit. Is that a harsh enough punishment for him? So, Camille, I will ask you, is there something useful about these leaks? Take politics, take Assange out of it if you are able to. What is practical about it?
Sure. I mean, from a practical standpoint, we all have these devices. They are our cell phones. They are our televisions. And the fact of the matter is, it's not only intelligence officials who will know about these deficiencies, these defects in the software. There are any number of hackers who will also know these things. As we heard from Apple yesterday, when they heard about these leaks, their response was, most of these things have actually been plugged already. There was a constant battle between software makers and hackers to try and find vulnerabilities in software. The government is no different when they do this. I think certainly this is different than the Edward Snowden.
Do you think Silicon Valley has better hackers than the CIA?
It's hard to say. I suspect that there are better hackers just in the world in general that are totally mercenaries, and some of which that are criminals. But the best thing for us to do, all of us, is to have robust protections for our software and to not have vulnerabilities that are lingering.
I agree completely, but we learned from Vault 7 that the CIA had some programs that would intercept transmissions before encryption even kicked in.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
It is a little scary, and I think that a lot that we've learned kind of since Snowden came onto the scene has been frightening. I personally am someone who likes to believe the best in our government officials, and I know that that's probably naive, but when they come out and they say it's not as if we're going into everyone's phone or all of your televisions, we know that they're not doing that, and that's kind of how the report came out and how it was perceived, that, you're just sitting at home watching
television is capable.
If it's a Samsung, we're watching you, and that's not how it is. So I think that obviously these updates, and you're right about this hackers war, and I think a big problem here actually comes down to how much these people are paid. And this is an issue with getting great people into government across the board, because obviously you're going to make a lot more money, not even if you're a mercenary, but if you go to one of these Silicon Valley companies.
Do you agree with Ben Sasse that Assange should be in an orange jumpsuit?
I don't think orange is a good color for Julian. I don't think it's going to go with his hair very well.
Him right out.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll tell you, this is one of those weird times where I'm like, all of it terrifies me. I'm like terrified that the leaks are actually happening, and I'm terrified at the substance of the leaks. And for the life, I can't figure out what I'm actually more terrified about. Like, it's bad across the board.
No, I agree with you. I don't think Assange is a hero. I don't see him as some sort of a digital folk hero at all. I think he's a narcissist. I think he's a sociopath. I think the guy's a total weirdo. Having said that, I don't think that this dichotomy exists that Assange bad, government intelligence apparatus good.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those times where we're really in a gray zone here. It is not clear who the bad guys and good guys are. And frighteningly enough, it may all be bad guys.
And how gray? Charcoal. All right, thanks so much, you guys. We'll see you a little bit later. I'm going to ask Dr.